Hello, hello. A man on his iPhone talking once again. And it's been a while. Um, this one's gonna probably be an interesting one because it kind of happened randomly, but it spurred some real thoughts, some deep thinking. And it's about this concept that reality isn't real, and a lot of people think it's a simulation. So at the end of the day, none of this matters. And the way this came up was interesting. We were talking about Jim Carrey because one of my friends had a dream about him. And then another friend posted their favorite interview of him. And in this interview, you can tell he's going through like a spiritual, psychotic episode where he's gone into the deep end of spirituality, where he came to the conclusion that none of this is real, time isn't real, none of this matters, the material isn't real. And it's like he lost his grounding. He didn't know what to believe in. And you can see it in his demeanor and in his facial expressions. This interviewer is asking him, like, it's a surprise to see you. What are you doing here? And he's like, well, I came to find the most useless thing to be at. And it happens to be this red carpet event. He's like, because none of this matters. These careers, these fames, the earth, like, none of this is real. Like, he just went on this long rant. And it was very interesting to see because I recognize those thoughts because I've had them myself. Because it's very easy to get lost in those thoughts when you're diving into the knowledge of timelines and the esoteric, the higher selves, the higher planes. Like when you start diving all of the unseen and how God is everything and nothing and what is humanity? Why are we here? When you start diving in those topics, it's very easy for you to lose sight of who you are and what really matters and what truly matters if you're not grounded. And this is why practices like yoga, meditation, journaling, nature walks, all these things are grounding practices in spirituality for this purpose because they keep you here anchored to the earth, which is extremely important when you get trapped into your mind trying to contemplate existence and non-existence and quantum mechanics and timelines and reality shifts and this and that and manifesting and just everything. When you go down these topics, it's very easy to lose sight of everything, who you are, what you're here for, what's real, what's not real. But yeah, this spawned a whole conversation on this because it came at a time when I was helping my brother with this classic car, and his neighbor came over and he was helping us. And while we were there, one of the conversations pivoted to death because he had recently gone through several losses in his life, and it got his mindset to shift on how we don't really have enough time for these projects, and we start all these projects, but we're never guaranteed time. So we never know when we'll finish them. And this took me to that Jim Carrey thing where nothing matters. None of this is real. Reality isn't real. The material and all this fame and these riches and all of that doesn't matter. None of it is real. At the end of the day, none of it matters. And he's right to an extent. But where he falters is he doesn't take it a step further. He left it at like a down negative viewpoint instead of trying to find a positive in it. And me personally, I went down these same thought patterns as I said earlier. And I saw the material doesn't matter. Chasing money, chasing girls, chasing cars, all this stuff doesn't matter because when we die, we don't leave with it. The only thing we take with us when we die is our memories and what's in our heart at a soul level. That's all we part with when we die. We don't take our money, we don't take our family, we don't take our pets, we don't take our status, we don't take our cars, our material things. And this helped me to see, rather than me go down the negative pathway that Jim Carrey did, where it's like, oh, none of this matters. It helped me see what did matter. And it was the memories and what's in your heart and the acts you do. And it also helped me see, since time is so sacred and it's not guaranteed. Life isn't guaranteed. It helped me find my values. I went within and found what matters to me. Because while none of this matters ultimately in the grand scheme of things, I went and found what matters to me with my time here, the time that I'm given. I gravitate towards the things that speak to my soul, the things that uplift me, the people that make me smile, the who and the wheres, where you spend your time. That's what matters. Because time isn't guaranteed. Reality is kind of like a fiction. And we don't part with nothing material. So in the grand scheme of things, you have to find what matters to your soul and your heart. And this brings up the topic of intention and living with intention. When you live with intention of what you want for your life and what makes you happy and what you want to do for yourself, that makes it easier for you to cut out what doesn't matter to you. You can walk away from anybody and anything that doesn't vibe with you. Anything that's like disrupting your peace or bringing you down or holding you back, it makes it easier for you to walk away from it. Because when you have that intention in your mind of, hey, I want to live this way, or hey, I want to go towards this, or hey, I want to feel like this, it makes it clear to see what doesn't align with that. And when it doesn't align, it's easier for you to cut it, because you know that your time is intentional. Your time here is limited. You have a finite time here. So you choosing what to do with your time is what matters in the grand scheme of things. And this takes me to another thing. I was recently watching Band of Brothers. I was in a dark spell. And I randomly decided, let me watch Band of Brothers for like the fourth time. And that somehow gave me a positive outlook on life as well. Because it's about these random kids who were thrown into World War II. And they were in the 101st Airborne, the first people to be parachuters in war. And they were parachuting behind enemy lines, behind German lines. And it's a 10-episode series if you've never watched it. And I don't want to spoil too much, but essentially you're following this company they're from all walks of life, and they just bond together. And they all become a part of each other's story because of the year and a half that they spent with each other, the 2-3 years that they spent with each other training and going through the shit. And that's shown a light on what really matters in this world, and it's connections. At the end of the series, they all talk about how all these people impacted them and how they're still with them through these memories. And that let me see a viewpoint of that's what matters right there. The impact that we make on people, the memories and the experiences we share with people, that's what matters. Because when we die, that's what we go with, what's in our memory and what's in our heart. And usually it's people. And this goes back to the intention. Who are you spending your time with? What are you spending your time doing? Because that's what matters, since time is finite. Who are you sharing your story with? Who are you co-creating your reality with? Your soul reality? Who? What? Where? Look at those things. Because even if you only share a day or a year or a few months with each other, those things stay with you and you stay with them. They now become a part of your story. Whatever you've chosen to do and who you've chosen to be around and who you've entertained and who came into your life, for however brief of a period it was, that's what you're going to end up leaving with, essentially. And this takes me back to what that neighbor had said. He's like, yeah, I was talking to somebody and he said, there's two things we can't control: what we're born into and when our time is up. And that was such a profound statement, because it's true. We're all born into shitty circumstances, or circumstances that aren't meant for us. But that doesn't matter ultimately. What matters is what you choose to do after all of that, while you do have time. Because the story you're choosing to write is what's going to be in your heart and your soul, as well as everybody you touch. And I'm going to keep repeating this because that's what it's like so profound to think about. Material stuff doesn't matter to an extent, because it does matter. You have to pay your bills and you have to survive. But outside of that, what are you doing with your time? What are you doing with your life, essentially? And when you think of time like that, it's very clear. Like, I saw this myself. Time is such a precious gift to give to people, because it's one of the highest forms of love as humans that we can give, since it is finite and we don't get it back. If I'm intentionally choosing to be in somebody's life and give them my time and my energy and my love and just me, that's such a gift that you're bestowing on people, because I'll never get those years and those days and those hours back. So in that sense, giving somebody your time and by proxy your life is sacred. Choosing to share a story and write a story with somebody, even if it ends poorly in connections, it's so sacred, because that's what our soul and our memories are going to die with. When we pass over, that is what we're going to fucking carry over. And when you pivot back to the material, living with intention of your time is sacred as well. To give you a story on this, I do something every Friday that's small and doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But to me, at a heart and soul and like energy level, it matters greatly. And what that is I get dressed up nicely. Like, I put a little bit of effort in, more than usual anyway. And I take my step niece to school, and then my mornings are slow. I start them slow. I take my step niece to school, then I drive comfortably to a local tea shop, and I sit there and I have tea out in the cold patio while talking to friends online. And like I said, in the grand scheme of things, I'm getting dressed to go nowhere, essentially. Like, this doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But to me, it matters greatly, because it's what I look forward to every week. Like, that's my outlet for emotional recharge and energy recharge. That little 20-30 minute breather of just taking my time slowly is such a luxury to me, because I'm a full-time caregiver for my mom. So that gets me out of the house and just allows me to breathe and reset and just be to myself. And like I said, this act isn't a huge thing in the grand scheme of things, but I set that intention every week to keep up this ritual or this habit, and it means the world to me. It keeps me going. And that's my intent for myself, and I stick to it. That's my self-love and self-care routine. I live with self-love in my heart for myself and others, and love for everybody, including myself, like I said. And I spend my time doing things and talking to people who make me happy and who uplift me and who I uplift them. And to me, that's a rewarding life to live. That's a good soul purpose. That's a soul mission right there. Helping people, spreading kindness, spreading cheer, spreading positivity, taking care of myself, taking care of others. And each of these people, just like the people in Band of Brothers, I'm now a part of their story. I'm now a part of their hearts and their memories. And that's our impact. That's our legacy. When I die, if I were to die right now, that's what I would leave behind. All the people I've been helping recently and lately and throughout all my life. Those people will always carry me in their hearts, even after I'm gone. And that's such an intentional way to live. Impact people, because that's what you're going to go out with. So while nothing matters in the grand scheme of things, everything does. And this kind of goes into perception. If you're looking for reasons why the world is pointless and why none of this matters, that's what you're going to be shown, and that's what you're going to find. You're going to find the genocides and the cruelty and the bullshit of the world. But if you change your mindset and live with intent to have a positive experience and a positive impact, that's what reality is going to start bringing you. You're going to see why everything matters, why everything we choose to do has such a great consequence and matters at a soul and heart level. You're going to see why down to the smallest flower and the smallest bee, they matter. Creation itself matters. And yeah, we don't go with nothing, but the experience is what we're leaving with, and that's what matters. Your time, the finite time that you've been given here, the gift of life. And what you die with in your heart and your mind, and the people you leave behind after you go, is what matters. So anytime you start going down those similar thought patterns that Jim Carrey was going down, just take a breather, take a step back, ground yourself, take a deep breath, hold it for 5 seconds, and release it slowly for 5 seconds. And then remember who you are. What do you want for your life? And if you haven't found that yet, that's okay. Hopefully you still have time to find out. And the only way you don't have the time is if you end it early or an accident happens. But you shouldn't be pressured to figure these out too. Take it slow. Choose something small each day to fill your life with that you want for yourself. Of something that makes your soul happy. Even if it's just, hey, I'm going to listen to my favorite music right now. Do it. Fill your life with things that keep you happy and keep you here and give you reasons to enjoy life. Find your reasons of why you're here and what matters to you. Go within your heart and find what matters to your heart. And fill your time intentionally with those things. And I bet you'll have a better experience. And I'm not saying life's going to be roses and water, rainbows and waterfalls, you know? Life still throws bullshit at you. But you can come back to center and realize, hey, I'm still having a positive experience even through these rough waters. I can still find a lesson here. I can still use this to my advantage. I can still use this event or this trauma to my advantage and use it intentionally. And that's a gift. There's no other way to put it. It's such a gift. It's the gift of perception. It's the gift of time. It's the gift of life. It's the gift of free will. How do you choose to spend your time and what you wish to experience?